Tua made his debut yesterday. I'm not sure how you guys feel about Tua's debut. I can just say I wasn't too impressed after seeing Herbert and Joe Burrow honestly be dominant to start their careers. This was a very underwhelming performance for Tua. I watched the game. He didn't even have 100 yards passing.
Yeah, the Ryan Tannehill day.
He would kill to be on Ryan Tannehill's level. But yeah, like I didn't really see too much from Tua. It was more of the Dolphins as a collective that really impressed me. And I came away more impressed with the Dolphins as a team than I did with Tua individually.
Well, let me say this, though. I think that we should be careful blaming Tua for his team playing well, which I saw a lot of yesterday. It's a really great that the Dolphins surrounded him with a great defensive performance, a special teams touchdown. Myles Gaskin ran the ball really well, and they didn't force him to do too much, which I thought was really smart. Brian Flores is doing a spectacular job with that team, and I thought he did a lot of things really well to simplify the game for Tua. We got to remember, he's been out over 52 weeks now. He's missed a year of football. So coming back in, game speed is a totally different animal than playing against a practice team. So coming back, I thought they did a really good job. They used the RPO a lot, which he's familiar with from college. They used a lot of short passes. Myles Gaskin was targeted 6 of his 22 times. So, they eased him into things. It wasn't, I think he only took 2 or 3 long shots downfield. The one of them that was intercepted or broken up should have been caught by Mike Gesicki. He threw a couple of really nice balls. So even though he didn't blow me away like Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert has, he looked good enough for me to come away feeling confident, especially considering what they've surrounded him with.
But do you think it's more than Herbert or Burrow?
I'm gonna go. This is probably a rare feat, but I'm gonna have to agree with Joel on this one. I think I'm more impressed with the Miami Dolphins as a team.
Oh yeah.
I think Tua was kind of like they kind of coddled him, kind of didn't let him, get his feathers in. But nonetheless, I can't really defend 93 yards in a game. But at the same time, they got the win. That's all that matters. He's gonna get more comfortable during the season. Right now he's nowhere near Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert's level. But, during the course of the season, as they let him fly, they let him get his wings adjusted, he'll start to show improvement. We'll really get to see how he is. It is his first game, though.
If we're being honest, if this is a Justin Herbert stat line, people would be calling him a bust already.
Well, yeah, people who didn't watch the game would be saying that. But if you watch it, you could see the Dolphins purposefully didn't want him to go out and have a crazy day.
And shout out to the Dolphins, man. That was a good win. That was a great win. They beat your Rams. Yeah, and talk about it.
Defensively,
good.
Let me just say, their defense was one of the most fun defensive performances that I've seen in a while. And the way they play, like they had Jared Goff in the pocket looking like he was 6 to his stomach. He made 4 or 5 decisions that actually looked like you were watching high school football, like a public school playing against a private school, which is crazy. But when you look at it, they have 2 really good corners who aren't even playing their best football right now, and it allows them to rely on that man defense and send in a bunch of zero blitz packages, mix up the looks. And Jared Goff, I don't know if he wasn't prepared for it or if he just wasn't handling it well, but he looked lost.
He was seeing ghosts, man.
Back to the topic about Tua. For me, I think it does matter because you're right. They did run a lot of RPOs, but I felt like Tua looked very skittish in the pocket. It didn't look like he had a great pocket presence. He looks very slim out there.
I mean, this is his first game back.
Yeah, but it's just his body figure. He looks very slim out there. And I don't like quarterbacks like Kyler Murray can get away with it because they have insane speed and agility. I don't see that same speed or agility from Tua. When I see him roll out in the pocket and go to his left and try to make a throw, I see defensive linemen catching up to him. I don't see him breaking away from linemen like I do see with Kyler or these other quarterbacks. And he's very slim. Like I don't know. I don't know if it was the best move for them to go with Tua right now. I felt like Ryan Fitzpatrick would have been better.
Well, they got the win.
I actually agree with you there.
I
would
agree
have
too,
went
but
with
I'm saying
Fitzpatrick
they
a little
won the game nonetheless. So
But then again, they've been seeing practice for the first 6-7 weeks of the season, so they know better than we do. But
they won the game, but because Andrew Van Ginkel returned a fumble for a touchdown, that's 7 points right there, and Jakeem Grant had a punt return touchdown, that's 14 points right there. So it was nothing that they did on offense that had them winning the game.
But you also got to take into consideration.
Tua did score though.
Yeah, and you also
he scored in like it was the first quarter, I believe.
Yeah.
That was the only drive that it was like, oh, this was a good drive. After that, there wasn't really anything that was impressive.
But you got to take into consideration that then in the second quarter, they had the defensive touchdown and the punt return touchdown. So they were sitting on a 2-touchdown lead the entire end of the first half. Third quarter went scoreless, and the Rams didn't start to make a pseudo comeback until the fourth. So it just plays into that scheme of, even in the beginning, they weren't letting him loose fully, it didn't look like. So when you have a 2-touchdown lead, I imagine they pull the reins back even more.
Yeah, I agree with you. But I don't know. I'm not very sold on Tua. I wasn't really sold on him coming out of college.
Really?
Yeah, I really wasn't. So we'll see what happens. But
do you know who they play next week?
They probably, I think they play I think they play the Jets.
Next week, they play the Cardinals next week.
Oh, the Cardinals. That's a good game.
That's going to be another test game for them. It's right up there with the Rams, a good team who's also looked bad at some points this season. Then they have the Chargers, going to be that Tua versus Herbert matchup. And then the Broncos, the Jets, the Bengals.
The Broncos just won, too.
The only reason why I'm going to give Tua a pass for this game, because it's his first game. I'm not going to really take it too seriously. But also the Rams are second in passing yards allowed amongst all defenses. The only defensive ahead of them is Washington. So they're a pretty good passing defense. So I'll give him I'll give him some leeway with that.
And he had to deal with Aaron Donald too.
Yeah, but I don't really see anything groundbreakingly special from Tua that makes me believe in this moment that he's going to be better than Burrow or Herbert.
Here's what I'll say. And you mentioned that you didn't think he looked that comfortable. I agree. In the beginning of the game, he did not look comfortable at all. And on the second play of the game, he takes the sack and fumbles and gives the Rams too good a field position. But I thought that as the game went on, he looked more and more comfortable. His rollouts started to get smoother. He was making smart decisions. So although I agree with you on the point that he didn't show me anything on Sunday to tell me that he's going to be better than Burrow or Herbert, I want to give it a little bit more time before I make that decision, because my biggest concern on him coming out of Alabama was his hip. And I think that everybody can agree with that. Before his hip, he was supposed to be what Trevor Lawrence is right now, the next big thing. And then he went down with that injury, and everybody had the concerns. So to see him moving well and making plays and just being in the football game and not looking rusty, I thought it was a step in the right direction. And I think that with Brian Flores and what they're building there, he's going to be in the perfect position to succeed as a quarterback. So I'm interested to see his development. If you gave me an option right now to buy or sell his stock, I would buy.
So on to the next question. Do you think that they can make the playoffs? I'll start with you, Riv.
The Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
Oh, no.
So just no, you don't think they can make it?
Nah, I'm gonna stay on the same path as I said before. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs.
I think they can. And I say it because they're the first ranked defense right now, if you didn't know. In terms of points allowed, they're the first ranked defense. It's kind of weird though, because they're 21st against the run in running yards allowed and 20th against the pass. They allow the 20th most passing yards. But they don't let teams score, which is phenomenal. And you've seen that in the Rams game. Jared Goff was in the red zone. They forced a turnover. Like, they're tied second in takeaways with 13th. They're +4 in the turnover differential. The only teams ahead of them are the Browns, Bucks, Steelers, Colts, Seahawks, Titans, and Chiefs. All teams that are going to make the playoffs. Browns are still that team that's up in the air, but they're probably all going to make the playoffs. And some players that I just think are going under the radar for the Dolphins. The big signings in the offseason were Kyle Van Noy and Byron Jones. But those haven't been the MVPs on their defense. The MVPs were the other two signings they made. Shaq Lawson from Buffalo, who Buffalo is missing right now because they need a better pass rush, and Emmanuel Ogbah from Kansas City. So Ogbah leads the team with 11 QB hits, and Lawson has 10 quarterback hits. They both lead the team, both free agent signings. They put a lot of pressure on opposing offensive lines, and they're a big reason as to why they are the number one defense in the NFL.
So who are you taking out?
What do you mean? Taking out of the playoffs?
Yeah. I think they have to win their division to make the playoffs.
I don't think so, because the Browns are in the playoffs right now. I think they can finish with a better record than the Browns.
You think so?
Yeah.
I think that right now, the Dolphins are what we thought the Patriots were going to be. And the Patriots are what we thought the Dolphins would be. And I don't see the Patriots trending up. They lost Edelman for an extended period of time. And there's a lot of problems there that they have to fix quickly if they want to make a playoff push. The Dolphins, on the other hand, they're trending up. They're playing the best football that we've seen from them in the last few weeks. They just beat a very good team from the NFC West in the Rams, who that's a team that a lot of people thought could win their division, in the toughest division in football. I shouldn't say a lot of people. Some people thought they could at least win or at least compete for the division, could be a playoff team in the NFC. It's a great win. And if they could put all the pieces in the right spot, and I think the most important thing for them, and it's unfortunate because it doesn't really rest in their hands, but what are the Bills going to be moving forward? Are they going to keep playing the way they played the last 2 weeks? Because if they keep playing the way they played the last 2 weeks, they're in trouble with the schedule they have coming up.
I don't think so. I think the Bills sitting at 6-2 right now, the Dolphins at 4-3. The Dolphins are going to have to pull off some pretty impressive wins going forward. And I think putting that defense, like you said, number one ranked in the league, but putting that pressure on Tua to lead that offense and get them into the playoffs. Like right now, they're sitting at AFC. They're tied with the Raiders too. Don't forget the Raiders. They're right there with them. So it's gonna be tough to see. I just don't trust in that offense to get them that far.
The offense isn't bad though. They're the 11th ranked offense in the NFL.
And the offense doesn't have to do all that because, like you said, the defense is keeping teams out of the end zone. And I give them a lot of credit for the biggest upgrade they've made, in my opinion, was on the offensive line. Last season, they allowed 58 sacks. It was the most in the NFL. Their line was horrible. This season, through 8 weeks, they've allowed 11 sacks, which over the course of a full season would be 22, which last year was tied for the league best number in sacks allowed.
I mean, they're much improved. They signed Ted Karros, who was a good center from the New England. They got Eric Flowers, who at tackle, he wasn't very good, but when he switched to guard in Washington,
he was solid.
He was really good. And they drafted Austin Jackson, I believe.
They haven't even been
and
fully
he's
healthy
a really
on
good
that line
tackle.
yet.
So, they have a good offense, and their defense is playing at a great to an elite level, so that's why I think they can make the playoffs. Xavier Howard is tied for first in interceptions. And he has 4.
I don't think that Byron Jones has even been as good as he can be, as good as we know he can be yet.
And a lot of people a lot of people are forgetting is Eric Rowe. He's somebody that's really stepped up for the Dolphins. He's a really good safety. And I just want to get into Brian Flores for a little bit. When we look at Bill Belichick's coaching tree, we think of Matt Patricia, Bill O'Brien, Romeo Crennel, Joe Judge is one of them, Mike Vrabel, Eric Mangini, Josh McDaniels in his time with Denver. But the best coach that I'm going to bank my money on being the next great coach out of that Bill Belichick coaching tree is Brian Flores. And I think he's going to be one of the few, probably with Vrabel, that end up being great coaches, because all of the other ones pretty much were disappointments.
You look at what the Dolphins were last year, and at the beginning of the season last year, they were as much of a laughingstock as the Jets are right now, or at least as the Jets have been to start this season.
The Dolphins were like in their first 5-6 games.
Yeah.
And then they started to turn it around, which I think is a huge credit to Brian Flores. He changed that culture so quickly. And granted, they made a bunch of nice moves this offseason. They brought in a lot of talent in free agency and through the draft. But for him to take all that talent in a season that so many teams have been negatively impacted by the coronavirus and, cutting down training camps and preseasons, for him to take this new group and put them out there, and the fact that we're even having this discussion about them potentially being a playoff team speaks volumes about him. I fear them being in our division for the next 10 years, but they made the right move. bringing in Brian Flores.
I'm sorry, I was just looking at the Raiders schedule. Do you guys think, you said they're ranked number 11 to offense, right?
Yeah.
You think that continues with Tua leading the charge?
Yeah, I don't know. It can either stay the same or get better. It really depends because obviously from this first game,
I don't think the defense is gonna decline. If it does, it'll probably drop to like 2 or 3 throughout the season. But I think if the offense tends to trend downward, then that's when you start to see the team struggling to get wins. That's why I'm asking. Do you think it does? Both of you, do you think it does stay 11th? Do they go up? Does Tua make it better, or does they decline with him?
If they can get past the Cardinals next week, even if they don't win the game, if they can make it a dogfight, play well, keep it a football game.
I don't think they're in a position to play well. I think it's win now.
If they need to make a wild card spot, I think they can afford a loss to the Cardinals. Because then I think the most important stretch of their schedule, oddly enough, which is contrary to any other team we've talked about, would be the next 4 games against the Chargers, Broncos, Jets, Bengals.
Because they can win all those games.
That's 4 mediocre defenses, all winnable games that they can take the reins away and let Tua go.
You got to look at the other teams, though. Like, I'm looking at the Raiders, Chargers, Broncos, Chiefs, Falcons, Jets.
And that's the problem. They're going to need to.
And I didn't even look at the Browns schedule.
I mean, to get a wild card spot, it's gonna be a battle. It's gonna be a competition. Yeah. But they're not out of it. Like, they're going to be there.
Your question was, do you think they're going to make it? I said, no, I don't think they're not out of it.
They do have a head-to-head with the Raiders late in the season, Week 16. And they have the Bills at Buffalo last week of the season. It's going to be really interesting down the stretch, but I think their season will be decided in how they handle Tua in that 4-week stretch. Because I think right now you saw him on Sunday easing into the offense. I think next Sunday against the Cardinals, you're going to see him ease into the offense still. But then in 4 games that they should be able to win against 4 mediocre defenses, they should be pulling back the reins a little bit. Let him make plays down the field. Let him start to grow and expand as a quarterback, get deeper into the playbook, so that when you get to the Chiefs in Week 15 or Week 14, then he's ready to go. He can get in a shootout with Patrick Mahomes.
Sit out.
And even if he doesn't win the game, that's a big confidence boost if you could stay in a game against the Chiefs, who I still consider to be the best team in the league.
What I'm most impressed with is not Tua, is not the defense. Yeah, how they've been playing, but it's just Brian Flores. When you go up against the Rams and the 49ers, both teams that are coached by an offensive guru head coach, Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan, who their offenses have terrorized NFL defenses for the last couple of years, and Brian Flores' defenses are dominating their offenses, I think that's something to be really impressed with. And people forget that Brian Flores was a defensive coordinator when they faced the Rams in the Super Bowl.
I agree.
When they were the number 1 ranked offense in the league.
They destroyed the Niners. That was embarrassing.